still on national security and defence, but closer to home. Retired Major General, now Senator Jim Molan, also my dad, sat down with me yesterday to give us an update on how he is. Critical issues out of Senate estimates and Remembrance Day. Well, Dad, great to see you and great to have you back on the show. First question I need to ask is, how are you?
I'm not too bad today. I'm in the middle of chemo at the moment, and I've got 10 sessions of chemo at 3-week intervals, and I'm on the 4th session. And chemo's interesting because it gives you the first week and a bit you get side effects, and then for the last week and a bit you feel quite human. So I had it yesterday, and I still feel quite human today. But I thought, and I haven't been on the media. I've been staying very low. My priority at the moment is to try and get better, is to beat the cancer. But I thought, given the fact that we've just had a week of estimates, I thought it might be worth chatting about a few issues.
Senate estimates, first of all, what is it for people who might not really understand?
Well, estimates is a period of time after a budget which is put aside so that the opposition has more time to directly question officials and politicians. The problem is that so much in defence is classified, that if an official or a minister finds that they're talking about a classified issue that they know is classified, then all they have to say to not answer it is, I'm sorry, that's classified, we can't discuss it.
Wouldn't almost everything under the national security defence umbrella be classified to a degree?
Almost everything except what comes out as in the budget papers, and not much comes out in the budget papers, I can assure you. And the first point I brought up really was what I think is the single most important point, which I knew couldn't be answered, but which should be answered somewhere in the parliamentary process. And that is, what war are you preparing for?
Well, how can we prepare for something if we don't know what it is? And if they do know what it is, how can we as Australians have faith that they're preparing for the right war if everything's classified?
So essentially there's a fascinating difference between the way the Americans do this and the way we do this. The Americans put out a national security strategy, publish it. There's a classified version for their very classified areas, but they put out something which is vaguely like our white paper, but not really our white paper. And then the defence under that puts out a national defence strategy. And the President always writes the introduction to it. And the President wrote the introduction to the last one, and this is what he said about openness. He said, and I'll quote it because it gives a real difference in attitude. If our giant alliance partner can do this, why can't we? And the quote is, the Department of Defence owes it to our all-volunteer force and the American people to provide a clear picture of the challenges we expect to face in the crucial years ahead. And we owe them a clear and rigorous strategy for advancing our defence and security goals. And I think that's very, very important. There is a way of doing this
that doesn't compromise us, but allows them to be held accountable.
Correct. And rather than not speak about it and trust governments, and governments of both sides can do what they want to do without bringing the parliament in or the people in. But the example that I quote all the time is the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security, which is a statutory body, and it is effective and fascinating and very hard-working. What we need is a PJCIS-like body, which would be a statutory body, which allows the full classification, as the PJCIS does, which allows the full classification of everything in defence to be told, so that we have some input into strategy as the representatives of the people. There is an answer.